Hello and welcome back to Video Games. I'm Tim Rogers. Thank you for watching Kotaku.com. Pokémon Sword and Shield are out now for the Nintendo Switch. It's the Gran Turismo of Pokémon Go clones. Just when I was starting to get scared that 2019 would end without anyone releasing a new Dreamcast game, Pokémon Sword and Shield comes along. For the first time in series history, the two choices of Pokémon version are named after weapons of war. Fittingly, this year's installment beats you in the back of the head with a whole new arsenal of features. For example, the music now sounds like SoundCloud remixes of itself. You can make your Pokémon big now sometimes. Pokémon has gone full England. The people eat curry. Pokémon Sword and Shield is the first mainline series Pokémon game ever that you can play on a TV without plugging your cartridge into a Super Game Boy or a Game Boy Player or emulating a ROM on a PC plugged into a TV with an HDMI cable. It's got segments where you can control the camera. I could stand here all day with my hands on my hips yelling about what's new and what's missing from Pokémon Sword and Shield, though a quick search reveals to me that literally thousands of YouTubers have already strip-mined this information from every frame of every trailer. Their collective spoken decade of conjecture dating back to February of 2019 eclipses the possibility of my successful edgewise landing of a single sentence fragment from my platform of experience. So rather than preach about the hot topics, I want to take a turn into the cold darkness. Today, I want to simply, sincerely celebrate Pokémon for all it's worth. In the 21 years since Pokémon Red released in North America, I've gone on many real-life adventures, some of them dangerous. I've worked many jobs. I half-jokingly put up a selection from my resume before every video I do, though only today do I beseech you to consider my resume relevant. If you could see my bank account right now, you would know I am not bragging when I say that I have been paid for a wide variety of reasons. What I'm saying is, if by age 40 you have had as many jobs as I have had in my life by age 40, that's probably not a good thing. It does make you sort of good at narrating YouTube videos for an audience in the tens of thousands, though it doesn't really help with much else. Today, as a full-grown, 40-year-old adult with life experience as a game designer, level designer, accountant, paralegal, illustrator's assistant, marketing professional, copywriter, CEO, fashion model, voiceover artist, and video editor, I sat down. I went full Dan Brown, and I cracked the Pokémon Da Vinci Code. Allow me to present 9 weird tricks that make Pokémon so popular. The weird tricks thing is kind of a joke. These are sincere observations that I have meticulously researched before pointing them out. Number 1. The monster designs. With immediacy, the perfection of Pokémon's titular pocket monsters' designs impresses even the most casual passerby. The Pokémons strike the observer as elegant. Their sheer overwhelming number encourages an inclination toward encyclopediality. The impeccability of their individual designs results in ignition of consideration of which one is one's favorite. Pokémon throughout the series' history have possessed such charming, considered simplicity that ardent fans can recognize any Pokémon, even in shadowed silhouette. The creators clearly know this. You might be like,
"This one is literally just a sheep."
You'd be right. However, that one is also Wooloo. Each Pokémon effortlessly straddles the line between logo and singular product of its own brand. When we talk about art in games, we often throw around the term character design. This brings me back to my naive early 20s when an older, successful graphic designer explained to me the symbiotic relationship between the finely different talents of art and design. Her words on that day could fill a profound lecture. I'll summarize. Design is older than conscious thought. Art is not. You might be like, "This one's just a sheep." And yes, that one is just a sheep, though it also represents the product of a considerately mathematic procedure. Its every curve angle results from a calculation first performed by a wordless Neanderthal pondering a sunset during the Pleistocene epoch. The crystalline pristinicity of a Pokedex possesses a Fort Knox's worth of golden ratios. I hypothesized that if we asked 5 career illustrators if Pikachu's design was perfect, at least 4 of them would answer yes. So I asked 5 career illustrators if Pikachu's design was perfect. 5 of them answered yes. Pokémon run the visual gauntlet from Sanrio Cute to Yu-Gi-Oh! Toothy. You make a young Pokémon's acquaintance. You grind it to evolution. You witness its physical maturity inch toward PG-13. The younger player feels the thrill of a wish fulfilled. Kids want to grow up. The older player basks in the warmth of the G-rated hours of battles, looking back with fondness at the cuddly favorites of their provably yet unforgotten youth. The Pokémon don't just look good. They look analytical geometrically perfect. And there are a lot of them. And now you can tease them with a dangly feather cat toy and cook curry for them in a weird first-person camping minigame. The lived-in world. Pokémon games show us worlds reminiscent of our own, only with the population's gentlest, friendliest tendencies polished toward idealization. The people of these worlds encourage us in manners any liver-on of real Earth might consider unrealistic. However quaintly idealized, this world feels lived in without approaching gritty. On the one hand, a stranger may give you a bicycle for free with no ulterior motive, though on the other hand, the roads are long, and it is a bicycle, not a helicopter. Pokémon Sword and Shield shows us a coloring book United Kingdom. On the one hand, there's no Brexit. On the other hand, the people always talk about curry. I'm guessing it's a Balti. Shout me out in the comments if you're from Birmingham. On the one hand, there's no cartoon villain prime minister. On the other hand, the Pokémon League commissioner looks like he's LARPing a PlayStation 2 Football Manager installment. On the one hand, Pokémon has gone so far toward full football that there are literally Pokémon hooligans. On the other hand, the hooligans are comically weak, uninformed Pokémon trainers and direct their aggression toward positivity, not bodily injurious violence, like in the classic film The Firm, starring Gary Oldman. On the one hand, there's no queen or king. On the other hand, the Pokémon League champion is a guy who dresses like a king. His favorite Pokémon is Charizard, which is a dragon. Furthermore, the people of this world worship the memory of a heroic knight. Pokémon sketches its worlds and interior cultures with the same golden ratio attentiveness its artists employ in the Pokémon's designs. Buildings have nice bricks. The first time you see your main character, they're using their smartphone. You can imagine exactly where the power outlet would be under this cafe table. A British person would definitely wear this hoodie. In each entry, Pokémon shows us a cartoonified reality. It shows us a place we might know, like the Hawaii of Pokémon Sun and Moon, only with one iron-grippy element architecturally erected overhead. That element is Pokémon. Look, here you can see average suburban citizens have constructed ritualistic dog-fighting, animal torture, abuse, basketball, blacktop rectangles in their otherwise Midwestern front yards, all in the name of Pokémon hobbyism. The confidence game. Let's tunnel into the psychology of Pokémon for a moment. Pokémon's world building's revolution around the existence of Pokémon instantly makes the world feel knowable. The familiarity of bricks and sofas and cafe tables with the hand palm-sized world-building concept of Pokémon combine to render Pokémon games as painless productivity software of a sort. We don't come here for a literary narrative. We come here because it's a shockingly deep collectible card game where the cards are hidden by graphics. Pokémon's cute monsters and lived-in world coexist with a sublimely complex set of interlocking simple game design systems. Each Pokémon game sells this set of systems to the player using the only trick in the oldest book of tricks. I'm saying that Pokémon's narrative design is a confidence game designed to sell you Pokémon games. Citizens of a Pokémon region's villages struggle to speak a single sentence without mentioning Pokémon. Everyone wields a similar obsession with the sweet beasts. Housewives employ Pokémon for chores. Children and teens train Pokémon for sport. Old men offer unsolicited advice about the rearing of the dear creatures. Enter the main character. That's you. You are so preternaturally gifted at mentally manipulating animals that even your hot mom cannot argue with your psychotic urge to abandon regular teenage life. Out in the world, Pokémoners lurk with fighting spirit. Everyone wants to challenge you and your Pokémon team to a duel. Yet, for the bulk of the game, no one is any good at it. No one is as good as you. Disembodied tutorial tips pop up with regular frequency to bless your divine chosen heroism with information which podunk roadside Pokémoners either ignored or have been denied. Thanks to the copious tutorial tips and your earth-personly common sense, you likely possess a team of 6 diversely skilled Pokémon. The average nuisancing punk lurker is going to come at you with like 6 Metapods and then cry that his favorite Pokémon sucks against your bird Pokémon. If you knew that, why did you do that? From the beginning, each Pokémon game presents you the perfect canvas for an aggrandizing self-portrait. I'm talking about your rival. Your rival in a Pokémon game is invariably a talentless, nice, big-talking, yet unremarkable male best friend who continually shows up to talk about his dreams, challenge you, lose, cheerfully encourage you and himself to keep training, purport with sickening wrongness that he is your equal, challenge you to a foot race, and then run off before you can agree to the challenge, much less make a bet. By the time you've obtained your first gym badge, you will feel like a Mensa member for bringing a fire Pokémon into a fight against some guy who has an entire building dedicated to his alleged talent, despite his insistence on only ever using plant Pokémon. Pokémon is a game that teaches children the value of diversity. The rest of a Pokémon game experience continually introduces slow basketball pump pressure into the base of your skull. Eventually, as your Pokémon evolve and grow jaggeder edges, you find that more and more rival trainers speak to you with the sensibility of a bully. Everyone is so mean to you, yet every bully's Pokémon deck reads like a fool's book. Amongst such angry hobbyists, you feel a swelling of metafictional exceptionalist pride. And that's how they get ya. Let me rephrase that. You roleplay as an older kid, trouncing youngsters at their chosen hobby competition. This plays on the power fantasy of exceptionalism. Everyone in this world loves this hobby. However, you are the indisputable best at it, because your character pretty much read a blog post about the existence of common sense. This is nothing metatextually new as far as role-playing game tutorials go, though in Pokémon it feels like a magic trick, simply because of the world-building's internal insistence on the hobby popularity of the game's core mechanics. Okay, let me rephrase that one more time. Role-playing games are, in general, about repetition. However, in games like Final Fantasy, not every town person you talk to is a materia-equipping battle system otaku. Here, in a land where a kid literally cannot list 3 things she likes without at least one of them being Pokémon, everyone has some familiarity with what you, the main character, do for a living, which makes your relative skill versus rank amateurs monstrously more empowering. It's sorta the video game equivalent of those quote-unquote inspirational posters that you see in predatory and usually non-unionized workplaces. Which version do you buy? Now we, like the butcher who got too close to his work, enter the meat. Atop Pokémon's elegant rat's nest of interlocking systems sits a majestic pyramid capstone from which big decisions tumble down with Plinko Cascade simplicity. Long ago, Sid Meier's Civilization Meyer defined games as a series of interesting decisions. A Pokemon's decisions are not interesting. They are fascinating. Unlike the micro-decisions being made 60 times per second in Counter-Strike or Street Fighter, Pokemon's decisions are glacier colossal and audible from orbit. Early game Pokemon decisions snowball into endgame avalanches. Mid-game nano choices add up to down payments on late-game habits. A brief study of the architecture of a Pokemon game's decision tree could fill an entire game design course. I don't have time for that today, so instead, I will devote the next 4 entries on this list to the umbrella category choices. The first and biggest choice is, which version do you buy? I know that somebody in the comments is going to argue with me and say that which starter you choose is actually the biggest decision in a Pokemon game. So I would like to take a second to clarify that when I wrote which version you buy is the most important decision in a Pokemon game, what I meant was it's the decision that results in you actually playing the game in the first place. So, it's kind of a technicality though. I'm just trying to be objective here. I actually edited this video 1 week ago, and now I'm sitting down in front of this microphone again the morning before I publish it, because I think I might have actually undersold the importance of this decision. So I would like to take this quick opportunity to strengthen the vocabulary that I used in the previous section of this video when I compared Pokemon to a confidence game. No, I was not using that term lightly. Pokemon's design does in fact resemble a criminal scam. And I mean that as the absolute highest compliment. Confidence games are about making the victim, which is in this case the player, confidently, of their own volition, make every decision that ultimately results in their brutal scammage. The confidence artist, or con artist, gives confidence to the victim, or the mark. So speaking to the point that I made a little bit glibly just a little bit before this about how choosing a version of Pokemon is the one that gets you playing the game at all, if we refer to that as decision zero, the decision made before you even start playing the game, the one that results in you playing the game at all, if we give it that little vocabulary phrase, decision zero, maybe now it starts to become a little bit clearer just how smart this is as a marketing move. Let's phrase it this way. As soon as you start thinking about a new Pokemon game, you are thinking about which version you would buy if you did buy one. This is some ultimate stratosphere level top-down confidence gaming right here. So if we phrased this as a multiple choice question, it would look something like this. Which version of Pokemon is better? Red, blue, I don't care. 2 of the 3 multiple choices result in the respondent to this question continuing to think about Pokemon. Only one of them results in you stopping your thinking about Pokemon. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. And where I'm from, we used to always say, if you only got 3 choices, a 2-to-1 ratio is pretty much a 2/3 majority. A Pokemon game gives you more options for buying it than it gives you for not buying it. The options for buying it are red or blue. The options for not buying it are don't buy it. When deciding not to buy it, you don't say, I don't want red, I don't want blue. You just say, I don't want Pokemon. This is a case of a trick being older than the book. Now, I don't have time right this minute to get into the Monty Hall problem and its ramifications on a question with 3 seemingly equal answers. Not that it would even apply in this case, because the answers are visibly not equal. We have red, blue, and neither. The player is more in control of their own destiny when they choose a version of a Pokemon game than they might be at any point during a game of blackjack, for example. Speaking of blackjack, Pokemon's battles, which are at the heart of the game, possess all the mathematical depth, bluffing, and hidden information of a traditional card game. Though I decided with this video that I want to focus more on the confidence game aspect. Again, in deciding between one of the 2 versions of the game, the player has made a decision. The people marketing the game have given the purchaser the confidence that they are playing the game of their own volition. Again, in a game about choices, by requiring the player to make a choice before they even begin playing the game. They have encouraged the player's confidence in their own decision on an almost spiritual level. Our decision of version equals a pledge of early allegiance to a color-coded club. Immediately, we feel like a member of a movement. Children particularly ponder this decision with fever. Their parents purchase the game for them. The children have no income. They need to choose wisely. Superficially, the choice is as clear as the answer to the question, "What is your favorite color?" or "Which of these two legendary Pokémon do you think looks cooler?" However, the more discerning child finds deeper considerations. Maybe one version lacks a particular Pokémon that exists plentifully in the other. In electing one version over the other for this reason, the player has preemptively decided to love that exclusive Pokémon when they find it. They have inspired themselves both to play and to play with a goal in mind. The player who considers a Pokémon worth getting yet chooses the version which lacks it similarly convinces themselves to socialize in the future in order to obtain that Pokémon in a trade. Whichever decision-executing method one elects, Pokémon hooks you. In purchasing either version of the game, or both, you made a choice. In a game about making choices, this means you're already playing. Some allow social factors to determine their choice. They might buy the same version a friend has, or a different version from the one a hated enemy chose. Or they might conspiracy theorize about some deeper meaning in the box art's presentation. Blue is blueberries, green is lettuce, yellow is cheese or mustard, red is ketchup or blood. The gourmand chooses yellow, the aspiring criminal chooses red. Gold is historically more valuable than silver, diamond more valuable than pearls. Crystal is a drug, not even once. The sun could melt the moon. It's difficult to wash blood stains out of a white t-shirt. That's why vampires wear black. Scientists have yet to prove the existence of the soul. On the other hand, heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. X is the letter of the edgiest generation, and Canada's own Wolverine. Y is the first word of a question, and questions are sentences for ignorant people. Like questions, shields are for cowards. Swords kill. In such a manner, any player can convince themselves they made the right choice. They have kicked open the cellar door, and now they bask in a moment's silence. Before smoke and a bright flash, now the loud hotness of a heck of decisions screams at them from miles below the earth. Now, they have to choose a starter. Which starter do you choose? The next layer in Pokemon's sprawling Amazon rainforest of a decision tree happens when you choose a starter Pokemon. Pokemon games classically offer you a choice of 3 Pokemon at the outset. The hook here is that outside of labyrinthine manipulative save file trickery, the player can only obtain these Pokemon at the beginning of their adventure. The gist is that this Pokemon will be your character's best friend in the game world for the duration of the story. Thus, which starter after which version arrives as the second question in a 2-question personality test. Do you want to burn your rivals alive? Are you sick enough to drown your rivals? Or are you some kind of vegetarian? Whoever you pick, you're stuck with them. Barring a massive hassle, you cannot change your mind. You might hate your starter Pokemon later. I'll admit that once Grookey evolved, I took him out of my party. I just don't like him anymore. More deeply, dissectors of individual Pokemon entries will extract juicy game design tidbits from these starters. One of the starters inevitably provides maximum utility in the early game. Another generally provides long-term stability. The other is kinda just a guy, man. Your starter also provides a backbone to the narrative. You now possess a rare, unique Pokemon, the likes of which you will never encounter elsewhere in the story. This renders you, the main character, a novelty in a world with hundreds of Pokemon species. Also, your rival chooses the type that's weak to yours because he is a mediocre hack who belongs in the trash. trash. I'm gonna bleed you dry.
Rich boy.
What skills shall your Pokémon learn? As Pokémon level up, they occasionally ask to learn new skills. For one thing, I'm pretty sure whoever designed this feature had all the wrong ideas about teaching tricks to a dog. On the other hand, this is the dark horse, sleeper hit, most important variety of decision within a Pokémon game. It ties every other decision together. Pokémon can only equip 4 techniques at once. If they already have 4 skills, they'll have to forget an old one in order to learn a new one. Lots of skills are attacks and do damage. These attack skills can carry an element or they can be neutral. Just because a Pokémon is a fire Pokémon does not mean that all of its attacks are fire attacks. Pokémon games force you to make these crucial decisions on the spot immediately after the Pokémon levels up and informs you that it wants to learn a new skill. You generally get one free opportunity to learn every skill in a Pokémon's Rolodex. When choosing which skill to forget in order to make way for a new skill for a Pokémon, you are engaging in deck building on both micro and macro levels. You are building a deck of 4 skills within the Pokémon. This deck of 4 is actually a deck within a deck. A Pokémon is a deck within a larger deck of 6 Pokémon. When deciding what 4 skills you'll let a Pokémon have, you need to consider the balance between attack and support. Sometimes you might feel bad about forgetting such and such skill. Then you'll have to remember that you have another Pokémon in your party who also has a defense lowering technique. However, maybe that Pokémon is the same type as the Pokémon asking to forget a skill. Now you're thinking about the type diversity in your Pokémon party. It's often a brutally, stressfully hard decision to forget a Pokémon skill, and the game gives you only one free opportunity to make this decision, and it sometimes will make you make that decision in the middle of a trainer fight. Eventually, these decisions are killing your grinding buzz every couple of battles, and that is, as they say, how they get you. Also, while I'm here, let me just say that without a doubt, the absolute easiest decision I've had to make so far in Pokémon Sword and Shield was the number for the back of my Pokémon trainer jersey. I figured they'd only let me use 2 digits, in which case I would have chosen 47. However, they let you have 3 digits, so I went straight for 108. 108 is my favorite number for about 47 reasons. Didn't take me even 1 second to know what number I wanted to put on my jersey. 108 is also my Twitter handle, by the way. Don't even ask me how I got that. It was not easy. Bots are trying to bully me out of it constantly. I get emails from real people, which are indistinguishable from spam bots offering me weird sums of money for my Twitter handle. I ain't selling. Anyway, follow me on Twitter if you would like. I like being followed on Twitter. I've decided that if I can reach 50,000 Twitter followers, I'm gonna treat myself to a little bit of respect. Which Pokemon do you put in your party? Now we enter the darker area of the macro territory of deck building. Though you can catch hundreds of Pokemon if you apply yourself heftily enough, and the marketing materials unanimously agree that you should do so, you can only carry 6 Pokemon in your party at any given time. Different situations might require different arrangements. You might want to dedicate 2 or 3 slots in your party to one particular type in a demanding yet predictable scenario, like a gym leader battle. You might train 2 of the same Pokemon species, each toward a different decision tree terminus. To catch a new Pokemon is to consider its place in any of the dozens of immediately apparent new party arrangements. Your full collection is thus a macro deck of hundreds of Pokemon. Your party is a micro deck of 6 Pokemon. Therefore, each individual Pokemon is actually a nano deck of 4 skills. Thus, hundreds of Pokemon turn into billions of party configurations. As you play, as the game narrative cheers you on, as you become confident in your sense of adapting your current party lineup to meet the lock and key situations, such as gym leader battles, the concept of a platonic ideal, all-rounded, every situational Pokemon party hits you like a meal you can't swallow, stuck in the back of your throat like a hunk of bubblicious. The thought challenge of the perfect Pokemon party will haunt you for the long haul. And now the game goes in for the kill. Too many decisions. Beneath this pyramid of quaint little palm-sized choices slurm countless loud decision system tentacles. You can make your Pokémon hold a berry. You can leave a Pokémon at a daycare. You can feed your Pokémon rare candy. Some Pokémon evolve when leveling up. Others require tricky-to-get items. Sometimes you don't want to evolve. Usually rare consumable items allow you to manually write a new move to a Pokémon's set from relative scratch. Right when you've become comfortable thinking about Pokémon party lineups, a Pokémon game drops a dozen spools of thread onto the floor and lets them roll away. Pokémon Sword and Shield compounds this unknowable vast decision space with the addition of a wild area. It's a 3D free-roaming zone full of wild Pokémon of varying levels. The Pokémon selection changes frequently. As Kotaku.com's Gita Jackson pointed out in her review on Kotaku.com, the wild area quaintly embodies the ancient foundational wonder of the Pokémon series. Furthermore, Pokémon Sword and Shield let you Dynamax your Pokémon. That means they get huge for 3 turns, during which they can execute brutal, furious moves. You can't just use Dynamax all the time, so now you have another possibility to learn how to deal with. What is life at the end of the day, if not a process by which we acquire possibilities we have to learn how to deal with? Pokemon's myriad decision systems and possibility spaces have been weaving a Dynamax basket over a period of decades. This wacky wicker web surrounds and confounds our perfect understanding as stealthily as the in-game narrative and television cartoon encourage us to believe we are the very best. The best there ever was. Pokémon is a long game. Pokémon is as long as life. The Confidence Game, Part 2, in which we talk about the long con. As a Pokémon game's single-player narrative grows long and approaches its end, as your friendly rivals make way for nasty opponents and you beat them all anyway, as you transcend increasingly complicated logic challenges, and the game world's inhabitants cheer you on and call you the best, it might start to get to your head. Now, you want to battle friends. You want to compare your Pokémon to theirs. You want to trade league cards. Deep down, you just want to engage in a social activity because humans yearn to socialize. Though superficially, you want to win. Maybe your Pokémon party that beat the Elite Four loses brutally to your friend's party. Now you feel the fool. You have experienced a round in the shoes of the stunted, whiny whelp who brought 6 Metapods to a bird fight. In your friend, you see the result of thought processes you had never considered, type combinations that never flickered past your brain once. Like I said, hundreds of Pokémon, billions of combinations. Your early decisions have added up to adult-like habits. Until you experience a crushing loss against a friend you thought you knew, it turns out you haven't actually played Pokémon. Pokémon is the Gran Turismo of rock, paper, scissors. When Pokémon Red and Blue first came out, I was already in college. Up until that point, I had played every Japanese role-playing game I could get my hands on. My social life had suffered in my search for appreciation of the deepest fundamentals of RPG combat systems. My purchasing of Dragon Warrior 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 for the Nintendo Game Boy paved the way for Nintendo taking the gamble on releasing Pokémon Red and Blue. I wore sweatpants so that yous kids could wear comfy shorts. I did buy Pokémon Red. I chose Squirtle. I beat the main campaign. My college friends were only interested in drinking and watching NASCAR. I tried to get a guy into it. I know he would have liked it if he tried it. I wanted him to be my real-life Gary. I explained to him that Pokémon party composition was at least as nuanced as a baseball lineup or NASCAR team tactics. I mean, this guy did play Final Fantasy. He just thought Pokémon Pokemon was a
Baby's toy.
My little brother, meanwhile, eagerly experienced all of Pokemon Red and Blue's link cable battling and trading features in his elementary schoolyard. My little brother grew confident that his Mr. Mime could kill any Pokemon. One weekend, there was a Nintendo-sponsored Pokemon tournament at the local mall. I took my brother there. He lost round 1 to a kid half his size. My mind reeled. Thinking back on it, this was one of the first times in my life I tried thinking like a game designer. I had seen my brother's Pokemon. I had battled my brother's Pokemon. I had beaten the game's campaign myself with a Dragon Warrior connoisseur's sensibility. I more or less understood how the game design jigsaw puzzle pieces fit together. The shopping mall tournament in Indianapolis, Indiana was no modern esports event. The battles were not broadcast on any jumbotron. I have no clue what sort of party the little punk had used to beat my brother. All I had was my little brother's word that the little boy had
Cheated.
and my gut feeling was that within this mysterious game, in fact, lurked the absolute certainty that no such cheating had occurred. A brutal loss at Pokémon against a real-world trainer inspires a frightening think session about the depth of the game. If you make it to this point, you have surrendered to the strength of the brand for life. A distinct thought crossed my mind that day in 1998 as my little brother cried and histrionically alleged the supposed cheating that had resulted in his brutal ownage. That thought was, why isn't this on TV? 21 years later, I'm still wondering, why isn't Pokemon esports? I mean, I know there's a competitive scene, I know there's competitive online multiplayer, I know people love it. Just how has Nintendo not managed to get Pokemon on like primetime network TV? Whenever ESPN has like Dota on, you'll see like tweets where people are saying, oh, what is this, a video game on ESPN? Video games aren't sports or whatever, right? I feel like Pokemon has the brand strength and the design integrity to serve as the gateway, to bridge the gap between games and sports. It'd be tricky, though I think they should do it. You know Nintendo has got to be thinking about it because Pokemon Sword and Shield shows us a world in which Pokemon has gone full esports. I mean, look at these jerseys. Why isn't real-life Pokemon like this? I feel like Nintendo must have been wrestling with this riddle for years, and I think the solution sleeps somewhere in these points that I've laid out. If Nintendo chose to elevate Pokemon to the level of nationwide televised phenomenon, they would create a newer, realer, louder narrative. Atop the game's narrative that any player can be the very best, we'd now have a real-world narrative that
Actually, no, you can't.
clearly Nintendo has considered this and simply can't figure out how to elevate Pokemon to esports status without alienating the casual fans. And with that, I have officially painted myself into a corner from which I cannot escape without doing for free the sort of work I literally charge a consulting fee for. I may be an idiot, though I am through working for free. What else can I say about Pokemon Sword and Shield? I like the UI, and I love the font they use to spell the word Pokemon on the Pokemon menu. It is bold. What else can I say? Oh, I know. I was born stupid. However, I will not die hungry. Video games forever. Kotaku.com.